Welcome to the Don't Die Rusty podcast. I'm Rick Hansen, and we will be talking about living, not dying. We're all in this adventure together, and we will be interviewing people who inspire us to live our best lives. People with various backgrounds who will walk us down the trails they took to not die rusty. Adventure and life are many things to many people. It could be a sprint or an endurance race, but with each adventure, we become a better version of us. We hope you keep chasing those dreams, being the best you, and of course, don't die rusty. Well, hello, Don't Die Rusty Nation. We are here today for another exciting episode with my co-host, Ricky Bruley.
How's it going, everybody? Happy to be here, as always.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that, because sometimes I wonder if he just gets tired of me.
It's less being tired of you and more being tired of the technology that requires that we're required to use to do this.
Well, I hear you.
It's frustrating. Anyways,
and it's funny because we had Kyle Kraft on a couple weeks ago, and now we have a local here from Spearfish, Garrett Vandersys. And he has done the motorcycle part of the Baja 1000.
That would be correct.
And I want to thank you for coming over here and chatting with us.
No, thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for your time.
To it. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. You bet.
Well, we can thank your wife because she got a hold of me the first time. It's funny how women do that, you know.
Yeah.
My husband has a story to tell. I didn't know what story it was, but he said you had a story to tell.
Right. Yeah. No, she was a big part in making all that happen too, the race and all that. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, why don't you introduce yourself for a second?
Okay.
Actually, we've just met. He came in the door and we've been sitting here chatting for a little bit, but let's hear what you do and then we'll get into how you got to where you were on the Baja.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So Garrett Vandersys, what am I now? 52 years old. We moved to the Black Hills 2015 in Custard and up to Spearfish here a few years back, and 3 kids. Of course, married to Robin, and work for a large railroad company. I work over in Wyoming doing that. So, yeah, that's the short version. Grew up in Washington State on the West Coast, on the peninsula around Port Angeles, where I went to school, and where it rains way too much. Grew up in a family-owned logging business. That was a pretty cool childhood, actually, being exposed to being out in the mountains all the time. A lot of hard work. I got to learn to run heavy equipment at a very young age. So that was pretty cool.
I think that's a good thing because, that's an advantage. I think many people, like I've been watching this, I can't think of the name of the kid on TV, and I think it's on Instagram, but his dad's out there and he's radioing back and forth, and he's 11 years old, farming and doing everything that dad does and helping his dad out. So I think that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So were you close, or what brought you to spearfishing itself?
Well, I was working for the railroad out in Washington State and was wanting to make a move. So we actually went to Nebraska in 2007, south of Lincoln there a bit. And kind of missed mountains or these hills and trees, being from the Pacific Northwest, of course. And if you're not farming back there in Nebraska, there's not a whole lot to do.
No,
Yeah.
I have to agree with you there. That if you don't like humidity and bugs and whatever else, there's that.
I'm not a big sports fan, so I wasn't on the Husker deal. So. Fan club. So we moved to the hills, worked for the same company, and the Church of Nebraska, the Huskers. But
I know. Yeah. I've been to the stadium and stuff, and I've looked at it, but that was like poison to me anyway. Because I'm a Florida State fan, so way it goes.
Yeah.
We've got a mutual friend who's a big Huskers fan, so we know all about that.
Oh boy.
We
tread lightly.
Actually went to he lives in Colorado now, but he used to live here, and Huskers were in Minnesota for a game against the Gophers, And so we went and did some tailgating, and I could not believe how dedicated those Husker fans are. I was like, man, it's their life. There's people that travel around the country. That's all they do. I was like, that's wow. Okay, cool.
Hey, whatever your thing
It's
is.
how they don't die rusty, I guess, right?
Hey, whatever works for you.
Yep, absolutely.
So we were talking earlier, and Ricky, I want you to jump in because we talked a little earlier. I mean, Garrett and I were talking a little earlier here, but you were telling a story about how did you get hooked up in the Baja 1000 and what made you want to do it?
Oh man, like I explained earlier, it's kind of a tough one to explain what was going on with me personally at that time, and why I needed something like that, and we can dive into that, and that's kind of what I want to get better at explaining to people. So I think there's mostly guys, but anybody could relate in different facets of their life and where they might be. But as a young kid, I longed to ride dirt bikes, and finally convinced my dad to get me one by the time I was 10, and just rode the wheels off of that thing and terrorized the neighborhoods and the mountains around us. And by the time I was 17, I just other things caught my interest, potentially girls and stuff like that, and some auto racing and that kind of stuff on a very local level type stuff. Sold the bike and never had owned a bike until 27 years later. But during that period of growing up on the dirt bikes, I always get the motorcycle magazines every month and take the pictures out and post them all over the walls and read the articles and stuff. And that's where I first learned about Baja and desert racing. And, that just seemed so cool, reading those articles about the Baja 1000. And as a young kid, that just seemed like such a far off, distant place that just, you couldn't really connect the dots, how that could even be possible for someone who, some kid living up in Washington State. So it was one of those childhood fantasies, how cool would that be to race in Mexico. And then got out of bikes, and then 27 years later, found myself at a point in life where I was needing something, and we can maybe get into that later. But I happened to get home from work early, and I was searching. We had just gotten back into dirt bikes a little bit, and it was much needed for me at that time. And came across a popular video in the off-road racing world, Dust to Glory, and that movie was filmed in the early 2000s about the race, and it followed a couple of teams and one guy in particular through the race and on a bike. And it's inspired me to potentially pursue it. And that's what kind of triggered me to, it brought back my childhood memories of reading about that race.
Well, Don't Die Rusty is about chasing your dreams, and it's about finding yourself, and it's about people. I mean, for me personally, it's like, I can't say that there's things out there that you feel that you need or want in your life that you seem like something's missing. And I think that's where the rust starts building up. And I've always been lucky enough to go hunting or do what I wanted to do, because we talked about that. I wasn't really tied down with kids in that aspect, but I've got to do that. And I've had people that supported me in the hunting part. And that's what was my passion. But what was that? You told me you were listening to the Dan Horgan podcast today.
Mm-hmm.
What flicked that switch, though? What was the switch that turned on? Like, I'm going to be able to go do this, and you know what? This is a dream, and if I do it and fail, I've tried. If I've not, then
there was no fail.
Well, that's good. See,
it wasn't going to happen. Now, had it happened, I was going to have to do it again. Mm-hmm. And it's expensive. It was definitely not a wise financial decision for your average income earner, obviously with a family and so on.
Yeah.
And, I had parameters. I had to not only finish it, but I had to finish it in the allotted time. Now, a lot of people, the clock might expire for them, but they continue on to complete it, and that's obviously very commendable. It's that you completed your task, and taking nothing away from anybody who sees himself in that situation. But for me, it had to be in the allotted amount of time. because like I mentioned before we started this, I was measuring myself.
Yep.
Where did I stand?
Yep.
And so what flipped the switch, I think, was I got back into bikes. So when I came across the video and it's kind of reignited that desire by going down there, I was 43. I didn't race it till I was 47. Almost 48. It's going to be now or never. The clock's ticking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The clock is ticking. The sun keeps coming up every morning. Now the day closer to the end, right? We don't know when that is. And maybe I was starting to feel a little rusty. I think like I mentioned before, I really didn't have any hobbies or interest for a lot of years there. I mean, sure I had interest, but actually going out and doing any, whatever it is, hunting or biking or whatever, just with a lot of working hours and kids and family, just stuck in the rut, right?
Yep.
And I started to get a little bit of breathing room. I found myself really longing, needing something, some sort of outlet, something for me. I guess it was that adrenaline rush, that testosterone, that I need that excitement, something that challenged me, a little bit dangerous potentially. And why not get back into dirt bikes, right?
Well, because to me this is interesting, because since we did Kyle Craft, we talked about that a little bit, but we're going from a trophy truck to a motorcycle, and that is
one end of the spectrum to the other almost.
2 wheels to 4.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've talked in many of our podcasts about episodes about the people that supported us, and to set that goal and to do it 4 years later then?
Yeah.
To do it 4 years later, you had to tell your wife that, this is a dream of mine and this is what I want to do, and to have that support.
Yeah. Yeah. She was a big support. We didn't work towards it for the full 4 years.
Yeah.
It was a lot of just still up high in the sky. There's I'd never even been there. Right.
Yeah.
But by the time I came around to race it, I'd been down there twice prior. Her and I took our first trip down there where we, it's a whole long another story. But anyways, we parked at the border and she's on her 4-wheeler. I was on my bike, and we head across the border and went on a week-long ride through the mountains and the desert and the beaches and stuff, and fell in love with the people and the culture down there, and just the beauty, the natural beauty down there, of course. And then don't forget the food, right? And then went down, I think the following year or year after, with 2 other buddies on a pretty long park at the border ride across. All you have is what you carry on your little soft bags. We're traveling super light, and we're staying in a different hotel or hostel each night, and we pounded a lot of some really rough terrain. It was 1,300 miles in 5 days of off-road, and they didn't know it at the time, but I was taking it all in, measuring, soaking it all in, the terrain. What's it like? Just measuring, could I potentially do this, right?
Yeah.
And we rode a little bit of the old race courses and stuff, but then the next time down there, it was game on. But like you'd asked, I guess the support, as we got closer to the year I did it, started really talking about it and doing the math, crunching the numbers and seeing what's going to cost, and really diving into what it takes to actually, just even sign up, and the logistics, and seeing if it would possibly be reality. And Rama got to the point where she's like, I'm tired of hearing you talk about it. You need to go do it.
So so my question is, I grew up I was a Ricky Carmichael fan and wanted to be a supercrosser. Sure. And I actually, I'm never sang the song except to myself, because I was a Foreigner fan, and instead of Jukebox Hero, I was in every supercross racing stadium I had that, and it was funny. But you go down there and you do a 12 to 1,300 miles, and you decide you could do it. You should go do it, and your wife is your support system. I mean, you probably had other people close.
Oh yeah.
Because that's the best thing, is to have those people that will help you enhance or at least help you achieve your dream.
Yeah.
But what's the time? I mean, I didn't think about this, but what's the time to get done?
I mean, it varies every year, but depends on the length of the race. It varies between 800 to 1,200 miles, depending on what's going on that year and on the course. But everybody was allotted 34 hours.
34 hours?
Yeah.
To go 1,000 miles?
The year I did it was 800 and change, 820 something, whatever it was. And
Wow.
it's the courses nowadays in recent years, the last decade or so, it's just brutal. It's just pure misery. Especially on a bike, it sucks.
Garrett, where, just for the listeners that aren't really super familiar with it, talk a little bit more about the Baja 1000. Where is it located? Does it typically start kind of in the same place and end in the same place? How does that work?
Right. So typically, the year I did it was the 52nd running, so they've been doing it a while, and it's ever evolving. But it starts, so usually throughout history, it's 1 year it's a loop race, so it'll start in Ensenada and end in Ensenada, going down the peninsula, bouncing back and forth from coast to coast and through the mountains and such. Not every other year, but thereabouts, maybe every third year, depends. They'll do what they call a peninsula run, starting in Ensenada and going to La Paz, which is just above Cabo, down towards the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
This last year, we were down there to kind of watch and help. Was the first time they ever did a La Paz to Ensenada. So typically, let's just go with Ensenada. Typically, it would be the start. Of course, not terribly far from the border crossings, but Ensenada's a fun place. It's traffic's crazy. After a couple of days of driving around that town, I'm gonna get me out of here.
And you aren't looking for a Taco John's when you're down there, are you?
Oh man, no. Tell you what, though, the food is amazing.
Oh yeah, I agree.
It's off the chart.
I just get the potato leaf.
No, yeah, right.
Potato leaf, some nacho cheese, you're set.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm sitting here looking at the Wikipedia page for the Baja 1000, and pretty much just recited it line for line. So good job there. And 2017 was the 50th anniversary of the race. So
that was a big deal. That was a big deal.
Yeah, 1967 is when it was started by.
Yeah, so they did a peninsula run that year, the 50th, and then of course last year. But I found myself in a point in my life, like I spoke briefly on, I needed something, and I don't know if I'm different in that regard, or for a lot of guys, sometime in their life, whether it's midlife or whatever, maybe they've been missing something. They just need a passion, right? And for me, getting back into bikes, growing up, most of my life, didn't have a lot of self-confidence. It was kind of that kind of guy in myself, about everything in life, about myself. And so I get back into bikes. I wanted to basically test my mettle. Where do I stand? Mm-hmm. And I never pushed myself. I was never in the military. I was never in any environment where I had to potentially push myself mentally and physically to far beyond anything I'd ever done. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to put a small team together with the support of my wife. And as crazy as this sounds, a lot of guys spend a year or two preparing on all aspects before the race, physically, mentally, financially, equipment, so on and so forth. 45 days before we were supposed to leave the starting line, I said, yep, we're going to do it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. So I don't typically live my life like that, making those extreme decisions on short notice. We'd been processing it, of course, before we said, yeah, we're doing it. But then it was, okay, we got to get the bike built. I had the bike already. I was fortunate enough to have a close friend and riding buddy of mine who by trade is a motorcycle mechanic. He was all on board. Mm-hmm. his girlfriend at the time was on board, coming down and just being support with Robin, and my two youngest ended up coming with me. But yeah, that was the team.
So, how long do you have to take off of work to go do this?
I think we did it all in, I think we did it in 2 weeks.
Holy moly!
I mean, I didn't. You hear the guys go down for a couple of weeks, or or months in advance, doing a bunch of pre-running, which on the truck level and or the bigger teams level, that makes sense, and the bike guys do too. I have a little different mindset, especially when it comes to the Ironman class. One guy, one bike. When you're just an average Joe rider like me, to be honest with you, I think pre-running is a waste of time.
Yeah,
and potential risk of injury.
yeah.
I mean, 3 or 4 days before I went out and rode part of the track down south of Ensenada ways, and just about had to get off, and just because I was a little too jacked up, and riding too hard and rolling through some whoops, and just about went over the bars and a little reality check. So, yeah, a lot of guys I just don't think as a Ironman, it's just a waste. You're not gonna all of a sudden become just way better rider and be way faster, right?
Yeah.
You need to get out, test a few things on the bike, and shake it down, and kind of get the jitters out of you, right?
Yep.
But anyways, so yeah, 2 weeks.
So you're in the Ironman competition, which is one bike.
Yeah.
One just one bike, and that's all.
One bike, one rider. That's it.
So how do you fill up with gas?
There's a couple different companies. There's no way to logistically have your team in place. It's remote all the time. There's Baja Pits and Mag 7, a couple other companies that you can pay. You sign up. This is my number. And they have basic tools and, bananas and water and obviously gas. And those are usually staggered out roughly between 70 and 80 miles apart. So there's your gas solution. And they're not always exactly where they say they're going to be. They're close. Sometimes the road conditions, they can't get in their equipment, the trailers with the fuel and stuff. But that almost bit me in the butt once. I ran a bigger tank. I was skipping every other pit just to keep moving, which hindsight, I maybe wouldn't do that again. But anyways, every other pit, in one instance, they weren't quite where they were. They were like 5-8 miles farther up the trail than what the paper said they would be. And as I looked down my gas tank, it's dark. It's the first night, and I'm getting low. The bike's burning through a lot more fuel than I anticipated, pounding through this deep sand. So I was nervous. I just passed the guy. I thought, well, if I run out of gas, another bike, I'm going to stop him and see if he's got any extra,
Yeah.
Get some gas for me somehow. But we made it, obviously, the next pit, and away we went. So
got her close.
Yeah. It's, I visualized that race. I don't know. I kind of became a believer in visualizing. I know a lot of people do extreme sports or whatever it is, visualize. And even though I'd never raced it, I'd been down there, I'd seen a lot of videos. I knew what the start looked like. And mostly I would just lay in bed at night visualizing the start and some of the terrain. And just, it consumed my mind. And when it was my turn to leave the line, it felt like I'd already been there. And so that helped a lot.
Well, I believe in visualization. I know Ricky does too, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I visually, I mean, we're in archery, we're in other things, I visualize where I need to be or how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's funny how I'll put myself in predicaments, even though it might not happen. What would I do in this situation? Also, I think that's a visualization thing. It's like, how can I handle that problem if it arises when I'm doing this? I mean, when Ricky and I did our 7, and which is interesting that you talk about that. And I know I'm bringing in hiking, but when you bring in that stuff, we had 24 hours to get this thing done, and we did it because I think we would. I don't know about Ricky, but I think we would have felt like somewhat like we failed if we wouldn't have done it in 24 hours. It was to be to the top of the mountain in 24 hours. And I know, like you said, would have finished it because
Right.
we were in the middle of doing it. But it was, and we talked about this in our recap a couple weeks, couple weeks ago, and if Ricky probably wouldn't have been videoing, and he probably in like we need to get to the top. We were. Did we have 10 minutes left, Ricky, or 15?
We got up there. It was maybe like 5 minutes to spare. It was like
Yeah.
We were at like 23 hours and like 53 or 54 minutes.
So
Wow.
but we made it.
Yeah,
We did
it was
it in our
close.
set time, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
I like to set a time, because if you don't have a set time, anybody can go out lollygag and do anything.
Sure.
But we set that as our
Yeah.
goal, and we did it just like you're setting that goal in the Baja. They have a set time and to do it. It's not, I just don't want to finish. I want to finish in that allotted time, and I'm going to keep on trying to do it in that allotted time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if
big
we hadn't, I feel like if we wouldn't have been able to complete it, we would have had to try to do it again.
I know, and then sooner than later, and then
and I don't know if I want to do it again. I mean, I want to do a challenge again. I don't know if I want to do that challenge again. I will do it, but yeah.
no, we got a new one to do because anyway.
Yeah, and that's brutal, guys. I listen to those podcasts, and I'm like, they did what? Yeah.
Sometimes we say the same thing.
Yeah, who thought that was a good idea?
Meanwhile, I'm over here going, you went 1,000 miles? Holy buckets. So, yeah.
But it's funny that you say, like, you decided 45 days, because when I did the first 5, I was in shape because I was climbing Crow Peak 100 times. But I have to admit, I was in mediocre shape, but I wasn't in the shape I was. And Ricky talked about, like, we just did it.
Yeah.
But we did it in a lot of time, and we aren't world-class athletes. We've talked to some, but we aren't. I'm certainly not. Ricky probably is hidden somewhere, but
Yeah. Yeah, no, by no means am I a world-class rider. I'm a good example of your average Joe just going out and chasing a dream. And there's a lot of people that do that, but I just happened to pick that field of to give it a shot at. But yeah, I found out I was in decent shape. Wasn't great, wasn't bad, but man, my quads and my lower back paid the price. Man, they were not fit enough for what I put them through.
And that's what I was going to get to, because you had to take a beating on that bike, and then you in a vehicle your butt gets sore, but I can't imagine being on a motorcycle. As your legs and your body just taking that beating for that many hours and that many miles.
Yeah. I'm trying to I won't get too graphic here, but I was sore everywhere. I had the marks to prove it. Let's just say chafing was not an issue in my life until I went and did that. And boy, did I find out.
Well, and that's something I never would have thought of on a motorcycle.
Oh boy.
Because that's what we worried about too. And that's why we had some stuff to help prevent that or alleviate as much of it as possible.
Yeah. No, that wasn't. I'd never put myself in a situation not long enough to realize that. And boy, oh boy, I paid the price in a big way. But yeah, I was fortunate enough to have a good mechanic who would just do whatever it took. We had some challenges through the race that set me back 2 hours. With his quick thinking and his expertise, we were able to sort it out once I finally got the bike back to the meet up one of our rendezvous points. They show up, man, you're 2 hours, they had a guesstimation, and when I should be there from tracking me and stuff. And where you been? Well, here's the problem, and then got right to it and handled it. So I had it wasn't just me, obviously, and we all know that, but it was, my wife and my whole crew, down there, and people back home, tracking online my progress and stuff. And I had buddies stayed up, wee hours a night watching my progress, or got up the next morning and pulled it up, and man, he's still going.
But in today's society, I mean, today's where we can track those kind of things, it certainly makes a race a lot better.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
How did it affect you to finish it, to do the race? You said 46, 40.
I was 47, not
47?
just about 48 when I did it. Yeah.
How did it affect you once you finished it? Like we finished our challenge, and like, here's the deal. The next day, I felt like crap. And Ricky had to drive home, and I really pity Ricky, but to be beat up for 1,000 miles.
Well, yeah. So I got in the 11 o'clock in the AM. Sun's out and it's warm. I'm smoked. I end up riding the bike back to the Airbnb, just in a lot of pain everywhere. And we get back to the house, and it's just kind of like everybody was just kind of, wow, it's over. We did it. We, as a team,
Definitely.
they'd never done that, and they had their own adventure and their own Baja, and I think Robin gave me some muscle. So I couldn't even. My hands, fortunate enough to have strong hands. A lot of guys that ride bikes for long distance struggle with a lot of pain in their hands. I never had any pain, but I lost dexterity.
Yeah.
And I couldn't hardly undo my own helmet. Couldn't take my boots off, But so we get back to the house there, and help with my helmet off. And I remember just sitting on the bathroom floor, and Robin's just taking my boots off and tugging my pants off, and I just turned the shower in and sat on the floor. I was done, man. And took some pain meds a little bit, something to help me sleep, and crashed out for 12 hours or whatever it was. I don't know. And we got up the next morning and drove home.
Holy moly.
I drove home.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I'm a nut.
That would be a nut. Holy moly.
Well, then there was a snowstorm, and we had to keep motoring. We ended up stopping to stay in the night, but we had to go all the way up into Montana and up and around to get here.
Really?
Yeah. That was a good time. yeah, that sucked. But yeah, what's been cool is I've been able to talk to a lot of guys that got a hold of me, and I've actually gone down and helped a few guys, Ironman, as far as support wise, and talked to a lot of different guys who've reached out to me, who are thinking about doing or want to do it, just advice and stuff, and just what did I do and what wouldn't I do, and stuff like that. And everybody has their own approach to it. I wish more. The average guy down there, I see a lot of them get too gung-ho, and they're running too hard, and they have issues. And a buddy of mine last year broke his pelvis down there as an Ironman. Great guy, great rider. Just sometimes you ride a little hard. I mean, it could happen to me. It can happen to anybody. But my approach was, when the going was easy, when those were small areas, or maybe I happened to be familiar with that particular road or trail, I really would get after it. And the really nasty rocky stuff in the dry creek beds and washes and stuff, I'd just take it easy and be real methodical and work my way through. And I see a lot of these guys doing the opposite of that. They're resting on the easy and going hard. I just don't get it. And I just try to, the guys who get a hold of me and ask me, I just really try to pound that home, man. Pace yourself. Keep your heart rate down. Don't work up a sweat if you can help it. Wear earplugs. What? Wear earplugs? Noise for that long. It's all about energy conservation, so it's been fun. That's part of what I've gotten out of it, is able to meet a lot of interesting people from all walks of life, and I wouldn't say mentor, but at least give them my 2 cents on how to approach it and that kind of stuff.
I'm curious, Garrett, was just kind of perusing through your social media channel. I'm on the post here where you talk about one of the coolest moments of the race. And it was the pit stop. You were curious. You were trying to find the folks that helped you out with that. I know you found. It looks like you found the guy that helped you out in the wild there to get your fuel line replaced. But did you ever find out who that pit crew was that helped you out?
Yeah, it was actually Parnelli Jones, which is a pretty big name in all kinds of racing, whether it be IndyCar or Baja racing. It was his nephew's, or anyways, his race company. They happened to be pitted next to us. So I was going up behind Mike's Sky Ranch, doing pretty good, and it was a couple hours before dark, and this is a real mountainous area and pretty tight trails. And I remember coming over this little rise. I was somewhat familiar with the area because I'd ridden through there on the previous trip, and I remember seeing this branch just laying in the trail. Well, big deal. Well, just okay. We'll just go over it. It's just a tiny little branch. And as soon as I hit it with my front tire, the bike died.
Really?
Just whoop, shut off.
Holy moly.
And so, yeah, the odds of a stick kicking up from your front tire and spearing in perfectly and grabbing your fuel line, and on this particular kind of bike, a little short hose comes out of the bottom of the fuel tank, and there's like a quick disconnect, like maybe you'd have for your Camelback or whatever, and then connects, and then the line continues on to your fuel injector or intake and all that. And it hit right there, and not only did it pull that connection apart, it broke it. It was non-functional at that point. I couldn't connect the fuel lines back together.
Huh.
Yeah, that's what I said. Huh.
That's geez.
What are the odds?
That is amazing.
So I'm thinking, man, my race might be over. So I didn't have a sat phone. I did have an inReach where I could communicate with my crew. And so I'm typing out a message, hey, this is where I'm at. Not looking good. You guys need to figure out a way to get up in here and get me out of here. But before I could finish typing that out, but bikes were coming by, and hey, you okay? Yeah, here's my problem. Well, they'd move on. And Larry Janeski, who's got some pretty good videos, a video series of him and his son and stuff racing the Baja bikes and such. He stopped but prior to that, another buddy of mine stopped and gave me a screwdriver because the one screwdriver I had was too short. He had a long, small one. I could get in there and undo the hose clamp where it goes into the injection system. And then Larry comes along, and kind of a quiet guy. He told my problem. He kind of sat there and just pondered for a minute. He's like, well, take your Camelback hose, and there you go. You're off to the races. I got to go. And he takes off. And okay, cool. Maybe I'm back in business. So I take the hose, cut it, I cut it extra long, and I'm sure glad I did as the story unfolds here. That fuel pump puts out 50 pounds of pressure at the pump, and those Camelback hoses aren't obviously intended. They're more for just obviously drinking. So in haste and in the race fog, the zone, time stands still. I mean, we can talk about that. You're just such a zone. You're just so almost out of reality, just the whole race. And got it hooked up, bike fired up, man. Here, away we go, right? Well, hindsight, I should have took my electrical tape, obviously, that I had with me, and wrapped that hose to give it some strength from expanding, right?
Yeah.
So we take off. I get down bottom of the hill. I'm going across this muddy, soupy creek and up the next hill, and right in the bottom of the creek, all of a sudden, bike dies again. I look down. Well, the hose had basically like a water balloon, and then it popped, right?
Yeah.
So I shorten it, get it all going again, go 3, 4, 5 miles. Same problem happens. I throw it down on the side of the racetrack and shorten it up. And long story short, that went on, I think, about 4 times on my way to meet up with my pit crew and get to the pits. They're like, where you at? Where you been? This is the problem. Well, there was the other race team there, the Parnelli Jones's race team. They come running over, hey, anything we can do to help? Well, by the way, we need some fuel line and we need a Camelback. And they run over their race trailer, come over with both, help get the bike sorted out while Bryce is doing the fuel line. Just give the bike a once over and gave me the fuel, the bladder rather, and sent me on my way.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean,
that's
that is
cool.
Yeah,
that is very cool.
Yeah, one thing about most racing, especially desert racing or whatever, and especially in Baja, everybody wants to see everybody achieve whatever goal they're out to do. They obviously complete the race in any way they can. So more often than not, man, you get locals will jump in. I mean, if you tip over, if they happen to be standing there, they'll pick your bike up with you, or you see all kinds of videos where they're helping push stuck vehicles and such. And I just felt a debt of gratitude to them to track them down. And yeah, I did. I ended up calling their shop and telling the story. And whoever I was talking to, the secretary or something, yelled out in the shop, "Hey, you guys!" And she gave them the short version. Yeah, we know that guy. And so yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
I want to tell them thanks.
Hold on here a second.
Yeah, that's really cool.
The interesting thing about it's amazing that the number of people. We see so many negative things in this world, and to have somebody that doesn't even know you help you, and we see that. Ricky and I see that more and more often, and more we do this, we hear more stories about that. But it's just, I love that we can hear these stories of people being good to each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
And cheering each other on. I mean, it's one of those things, like in archery, we cheer each other on mostly, sometimes we give each other heck too, but it's the cheering on part that's good. And the good people that are surround you, and you have your crew, and then you have good people beside your crew.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
Yeah. It turns into a big family down there. Everybody's looking out for each other. And, it's Mexico. It's remote. It's a long day for everybody. It's you can be hot during the day, and it's freezing temperatures at night. I mean, that particular race, there was guys going over what they call the summit. It's a pretty high peak, and their water bladders were freezing up.
Really?
Yeah. And they're still getting hypothermic, and there's people out in the middle of nowhere with bonfires. You pull over and warm up your hands real quick and stuff like that. Of course, they want to hand you a beer, but yeah. But I'm good. I got to go.
No cerveza
yet. Yeah. It's a good time. And the people of Baja, Mexico are beautiful. They're, man, they love off-road racing.
Really?
They absolutely go nuts over it. It's, as long as you got stickers with you, that's like currency down there. You can buy your way out of trouble with stickers.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, oh boy, the kids and the parents. Kids come running up, stickers, stuff like that. They just want race team stickers or whatever, and that's a big deal. You go down there, there are stickers plastered over everything down there. Restaurant windows covered.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Well, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. So you go down there, and you need some Don't Die Rusty stickers. I'm telling you.
Well, isn't that crazy? Because I was going to give you those anyway.
Right? Cool, man. Awesome. Thank you. That's awesome.
You get all the versions.
Oh man, that's really cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
So now maybe we'll have Don't Die Rusty stickers in Mexico too. I'll give you extra.
Well, as I say, I'm going down in November again, so I can get a picture and I'll send it to you.
That'd be good. Huh? We'll get you some extra ones.
Maybe be the farthest south one of these stickers has ever been.
Maybe
thus far.
We can hope it goes
awesome.
Going further. So yeah, no, because I just, these kind of stories just make me. They inspire me to want to do more. Actually, I'm probably not going to do a Baja because I enjoy watching it.
Yeah,
but I just have other things that are on the top, more are higher on my list.
Sure.
Yeah,
for real.
So, but it's interesting to listen to these conversations, have these conversations, I should say, about like how it affected you. How so. You're 52 now?
Yeah.
So it's been 4 years since you've done this? Or, yeah, 5 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and you were telling us how it's affected you since then, people calling you, talking to you, asking you questions. And, I think it's a big deal to finish what you started and do it in the time span that you are allotted.
Yeah, that was a real big deal for me because afterwards, I've had thoughts of doing it again, but I won't. But I had to do it on time. Otherwise I had to go back. Right.
Yeah.
It's given me confidence. It accomplished some goals. Now I know where I measure up, and it's not an ego thing. It was just for me personally. Where do I measure up in basically in my bike skills? I still, to this day, we kind of I enjoy long distance, adventure bike type riding, mostly off-road, dirt road, Jeep trails, but long distance. I don't know. It's just kind of my thing. So maybe that's why that race worked for me. It's given me more confidence to, potentially pursue other things, and I think that is the confidence that I gained in that, and hopefully instilled in, at the very least, hopefully my kids, and maybe some other people, whether inspire them to whatever it is, no matter how big or small. If you got something kicking around the back of your mind, yeah, maybe I should or shouldn't, or I've thought about it forever, I don't know if I can. You won't know unless you try.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So since you completed that challenge, it seems like that's kind of the pinnacle of what you were looking to do. Is there any, do you do any other races at all, or what's in the future for Garrett and dirt bike racing?
What's weird is, I'm not a racer. Yeah, it's funny that some interview somewhere, maybe it was at the finish line or something, and other people along the way that are kind of in the industry about, asked me, well, so what's your previous experience? And none. As far as desert racing goes, and had just recently picked the bikes back up. But I just really enjoy. I would love to ride to the to Ushuaia, the southernmost tip of from here, of South America. That'd be cool. The border crossings in Central America, I've heard a lot of podcasts on those, and that can be a little challenging.
Mm-hmm. No, I've heard that too.
I bet.
Stuff. Yeah. But bike related, that's kind of just like in a couple months, or actually the end of August, got a big ride coming up planned with a buddy of mine who's about 15 years younger. So he kind of tugs me along and pushes me. We're doing a big 2-week bike ride, leaving on the bikes from Boise, Idaho, and going down to the bottom of Oregon and riding up through on a BDR route, back road discovery route tracks, through up the middle of Oregon, middle of Washington, over to Idaho, and down the middle of Idaho. It's a focused on dirt route, that kind of stuff.
Well, that is not dying rusty there, and you get to see your, you get to see some beautiful country. I would assume. That'd be gorgeous.
Places you wouldn't typically go to. Last year, me and 3 other buddies rode from Tecate, the border crossing there, and parked trucks. We rode on a predominantly off-road rough route all the way to La Paz and then all the way back. So I just thought, I don't know, maybe I like the challenge, the punishment, physically and mentally, the day in, day out. I love it when it's 100 degrees and it's uncomfortable, and it's hot, you're tired, the terrain is challenging. I just get in this, something clicks in here where I could just feel like I can just keep going and going and going, and just, I don't know, some would call it a zone or whatever, but not that, maybe it's not even that extreme, but in a sick way, I kind of enjoy that.
Yeah.
Kind of like being in the Matrix.
Right.
I
don't know what, I'm not sure what I would call it, but
flow state. You get into the flow state, right? Yeah.
100%. You nailed it. That's exactly what that race was. I'm not a pro racer, so I don't run those speeds. The Ironman pace is always slower anyways. Obviously, one guy, one bike. And there's always those top 3 or 4 Ironmen that run a pretty good pace, and that wasn't me. So that flow state was very important. Mentally, I'd never been so just in that zone. Time stood still, but I knew the clock was still moving. It was weird, man. It was just almost out of body. It was, I was so in my head in a good way the whole time, man, talking to myself at some points out loud in my helmet when I was really struggling in the middle of the night. You're starting to hallucinate. You're seeing kids that are down the trail waving at you that aren't there, dogs crossing that aren't there. Believe it or not, you're trying sometimes for a little bit, almost falling asleep in a sense, nodding off and glancing at your GPS and seeing that you're off a little bit, off track a little bit maybe or whatever. and that kind of stuff. And it was, I guess, my first experience of really pushing myself that far, and it was pretty cool actually to experience that.
Well, I have two questions actually. Not really a question. It's interesting because when I think we posted this is a long time coming for this interview because we were just inundated. We were busy. We were all. I mean, Ricky and I were trying to do all these things and had all these, and finally we're together. But it was funny because here's one thing I do see is your wife is the one that said my husband has a story to tell. And to me that's very cool because to have a wife that's proud of you and to she supports you and I mean I'm lucky in that aspect too. I mean sometimes she wants to kill me but she does support my stupid ideas at times and she does support she knows that the things that I'm trying to do isn't trying to hurt anything. It's trying to improve myself most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, in most everything I do, she may worry about some of the things we do, as your wife probably does. But to see, and Ricky's, I mean, we've talked about this, and it's so interesting to me that we get comments and we get messages from people saying how we include our wives into our conversations and how that is such an uplifting thing to say, but we wouldn't be here today if your wife wouldn't have messaged me.
I wouldn't have reached out to you.
You know what I mean? And we're trying to find these stories.
Yeah, no, it's cool. No, it's I may have him-hawed for who knows how long had she not said enough of talking about it. Go do it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. No, it's cool.
I'm glad it's really cool, and I'm kind of giggling over here a little bit, and I'm glad Rick mentioned that because I came across your post where you announced that you're going to do the Baja 1000, and as you scroll through the photos, you come across this one. It says, "Marry a girl who says things like, 'I'm proud of you. I can't believe you're mine. You're right. I was wrong. You can do it, baby. And I don't know where this bike came from, but it goes really well with your other bikes, and you should definitely get more.'"
Oh, wow. I forgot about that one. Oh, that's awesome. You're digging deep. Yeah.
Well, that's why Ricky's on this. Cause, right? I mean, he's the guy that
Dakota
finds
Dirt
all
73. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah, I'm lucky in that regard for sure. I'm glad she was able to be down there and experience that. I do find that odd. I come across guys down there that, they're they have their spouse isn't even there. Now it could be because whatever things going on in life. I get it, but that definitely meant a lot, And for my two youngest kids to be able to be there, that was pretty cool. After they told Dad, before the race, there's no way you can do that. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, but it's cool that we have these spouses that actually sacrifice a lot of their life or some situations, Ricky, you're going to find this interesting. Okay. Because we get our shirts done. I'm going to, if your wife, she'll listen to this. So Lindsay, who does our printing at the junk drawer in Spearfish, South Dakota, I'm in there talking to her. And I'm talking to, we talked about this earlier, but I'm talking to her about who I'm going to interview. And she's kind of looking at me funny, and then she says, well, his wife is the one that writes all these books that we sell in the junk drawer. So she's an author that writes a lot. I mean, she says it's our top seller for books in the junk drawer. And I'm going, and she doesn't have a story to tell. She's writing all these stories, and she has no story to tell me. but she's proud of her husband.
Yeah. All right.
You know.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, actually. Yeah. That's
So, all these things.
That is cool.
I think we're finding that the world is becoming a better place when we can sit around here and talk about the good things in our lives, and those are one of them. Our wives and achieving dreams that we're chasing. I want this. I truly have this vision of Don't Die Rusty being out there where everybody is like, I'm going to do something because I've heard this one story on Don't Die Rusty, or
right.
or you know what, getting those, like we talk, phone calls, or getting, or somebody else pushing or saying. So to have you here, which we, like I said, we just met about an hour and a half ago.
Yeah.
And and Ricky and I being able to go through, I'll say, one of the most hellish times in a hike with me, and we're still friends, and we're still doing this, right? Because like you're talking about being. I was on a hunt one time and I was young, and I know the chafing thing, and I'm bloody, and I can't walk,
Oh, yeah, I was there.
And you're in pain, and you just, I put on so many miles on this hunt, and it was the first day, and then you're just done.
Yeah.
And I felt crappy within myself, and I said, oh, that'll never ever happen again.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. But
what you guys are in the process of building here, hopefully, is a community of people to cheer each other on.
Exactly.
Or maybe have resources. Hey, we heard so and so on there. Maybe I could get in contact with them and ask for some advice. And I'm not referring to me, but I'm talking about anybody else that you've interviewed per se.
Well, because Ricky and I mean, this is cool. What if one person or two people even contacted you? I mean, we'll put the contact information in the show notes here when we put this out. But if one or two people have contacted you, that's, I mean, we talked about this again with Dan. If two people contact you, then they talk to two people, and they talk to two people. We're making a difference in this world.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Opening up people's eyes to potentially, pursue that passion or whatever it is that's maybe holding them back from doing so.
That
definitely,
because we have guests that I don't ever want to be put in this niche of, we talk to certain people, like, we talk to ultra marathoners, and we've talked to a motorcycle Baja racer and a trophy truck racer. I'm probably giving people a little hint of what we're going to be talking to, but I'm going to talk to a world champion bull rider here in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
Ricky and I are. And it's interesting that we are having so many different, I hate to say this, but we have an eclectic bunch of guests on.
Very diverse.
Very, very diverse, but everybody is doing their thing, so they keep moving forward and they don't die rusty.
Exactly.
We get to that final, we're getting down to the end here, and sometimes we think it's the end, but then it goes on to another end,
Right.
But the final question is, what's the good life to Garrett?
Let me pull up my notes. No, I figured this question was coming. And
how much time you got?
Right. Yeah. I didn't spend any really time thinking on it. I didn't have a pre-canned answer. I just wanted to wing it,
Yeah.
And what's the good life to me? Man, that's a whole can of worms there. Waking up every day healthy, living in the Black Hills is a good start. Seeing my kids get their lives going in a successful way and learning from their little bumps in the road along the way.
Yep.
Having a supportive wife, obviously we've touched on that a little bit, and having my eyes opened up to chasing, not being afraid to chase whatever goal or adventure you're looking for, or whatever it may be. After doing something like I did, being aware of that on a daily basis uh, is what's part of the good life for me.
Well, that sums it up very well for a lot of people, I think, too. I mean, when we get to the end and hear these, I mean, life is ever changing too. So the good life could change next week or tomorrow, or I mean, the good life could be, I came close to having a wreck, but I didn't have a wreck, and we get to keep on chasing those dreams or whatever else there is in this world. I mean, but that's a good place to be.
Yeah, no, it's definitely I don't regret doing it. It's opened up some opportunities. It's like I said, it's just boosted confidence in myself.
Yeah.
Kind of a funny thing you guys brought up. I know this is regressing a bit, and it's maybe a kind of funny topic. It is a funny topic. You guys asked during the trophy truck interview about, I think Ricky asked the question, I think, and about how do they go to the bathroom?
Well, that was me.
Oh, was it you?
Yeah, but I figured I was going to ask you this one, but I thought people, how do you go? You didn't have a condom on and pee, did you?
Yep.
You did?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I figured on a motorcycle, you just hop off, stretch your legs, and pee.
You ain't got time for that, bro.
That's what everybody says. Like,
I might start. I'm thinking about starting to do that in the tree stand, man. I mean, seriously, I'm going to start climbing up into the tree, and then I don't have to worry about,
It is,
getting down and peeing. Yeah, well, usually I just pee right out of the tree. But.
Yeah, off the tree. Yeah, it is funny, but yeah, it's amazing that some guys forgot. Anyways, everything becomes a big deal.
Yeah,
you're all geared up. You're not strapped in, but you're on the bike. You're geared up to stop and do that. It's a process. I got a pack on. I got the pants, the way they're buckled is odd compared to normal pants. And it's just a process. You get in the rhythm. You don't want to just, you're on a mission, right? So yeah, it's the same concept. And it's just a tube down the leg and poke a hole in your pants and down the side of your boot. And away you go.
Holy moly.
Satan, now you're all the wiser now.
I am all the wiser now, because I was going to ask that. And I thought, well, he's on a motorcycle. I'll just get off and pee. I know you aren't going to run into the convenience store and get a pop and a Coke and a piece of pizza. But,
right.
Or actually down there, maybe a burrito and a taco.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A street taco I'm talking. I'm not talking about running into a restaurant.
No. Fish tacos at the corner stand, yeah.
And then hopefully, you probably aren't eating a lot of refried beans the night before, are you?
No, that was a concern. No, we stepped away from the street food a few days before.
Yeah.
And really loaded up on, protein and then, of course, carbs. And then I was eating some at midnight when I got up, a big old pile of, noodles or whatever, but pasta. But, yeah, that's one area I did fail in, is my nutrition during the race. It wasn't good enough. But
well, we all do that, don't we, Ricky?
Yeah.
Fail at nutrition at sometimes. If people could see, I'd be pointing at me during our 42, but 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 it that is interesting to me, because I was thinking, well, is that a dumb question to ask, because he's on a motorcycle?
No, it's pretty common.
And
there's I don't know. Sometimes things don't stay connected. Some guys have told me, and throughout the race, and they'll just go in their pants. They don't stop. That creates a whole other potential issues.
Well, more chafing. It'd be a bad deal.
Yeah. It's brutal. It's
and to me, back on. I'm gonna go back to the food part, though. Is like, I mean, I've been to Mexico 3 times, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I went, I was a college kid, drove from here to Nogales, Arizona.
Oh, geez.
We got on a bus with the we talked about this in an early one, but we, we weren't on any tour.
Right.
And I ate all the food I wanted to eat, street tacos. I ate whatever I wanted, never got sick. And I think it's because I was in college, probably had an iron stomach. I do not know. But other people that got down to, we went to Mazatlan.
Okay.
And other people that got down there, they were sick.
Sure.
I mean, that we've met.
Yeah.
But so do you worry about that? Did you worry about that before you started?
Yeah, you're cautious of it. I mean, you still have to indulge in some street tacos and all that. Don't brush your teeth with the tap water, even though you're not going to swallow it as you're brushing typically, but a little bit could, or even ice cubes in a restaurant. Be wary. Ask for which typically it's going to be a bottle of water anyways down there typically. Yeah. But it can still happen with even street tacos, right? So a couple days before I backed away from that, and we just went to the local grocery store and started cooking at the house there.
Yeah.
But it happens. I know of teams that have struggled with that down there as well. It's unfortunate, and can make for a really bad day.
Because, I mean, we're college kids, all right, and we're coming back late at night, and we have our street taco vendor every doggone night, and actually one parked across the street from this other one, and they were yelling at each other because they wanted us to go over.
Right.
But we're going to our normal guy, and it was actually hot dogs. And like I said, I'd have two a night, and I'd be good in the morning. But at that time, I'm dating myself, but I think I paid for the whole week down there for the room. I think I paid $50. Everybody paid like $50. We had 4 people, so $200 for a room for a week. So I'm not saying we're staying at the Hilton,
right?
But and then of course we go down to the beach and carrying a case of Pacifico, and we're enjoying life, okay? But I wonder, like, that just made me wonder, like I was more careful. Like, you're talking about the ice.
Yeah.
We'd even like sometimes wipe the top of a bottle off, even the dew on the bottle or whatever in the beginning.
Right.
And I guess we were careful, but not knowing it.
Yeah. I think the people down there are used to it, but coming down there, our bodies aren't quite used to some of that. So I don't know. But something to be aware of. I mean, the last year we were down there, we had a little bit of issue with that, but it wasn't terrible. It wasn't extreme, but you survive it. I'll go back. I've gone back every year since I raced it, and either to watch or support in some way or fashion. We've got friends that live down there, locals that live down there. We go and visit them. And a little town there on the Pacific side, south of Ensenada, an hour or so, and got to know that family ever since the first time we ever went down there and riding and seeing their kids grow up and stuff. And it's been you want to talk about a cool experience. I mean, he's a fisherman out of this little fishing village, and a scuba diver for sea life, oysters or whatever, mussels and stuff. And to be invited over to their house, and it's rough as far as the house goes, as far as what we consider standards, right? And but some of the best times, some of the best food, fresh lobster, tacos, and whatever else he caught that day, and those are some of the cool memories about refer to the people of Baja being so typically being so open and welcoming,
And isn't it interesting? Also, I mean, I hate saying interesting. I'm gonna have to find another vocabulary word, but when I go to these places, when I go to Mexico or Jamaica or I mean other places that I've been in that area, I go to the places that aren't touristy.
Exactly.
And you see the real life, and you realize. I mean, I think more Americans need to go to the dirty places because I've seen a guy shot. I've been in some interesting situations, we'll say, and I say, you know what, America is the most awesome place in the world.
Absolutely.
When you see people that have lived in they don't really have, they have slats, they're where their living conditions are not great. They live in a warm area all the time, mostly.
Yeah.
But I'm going, we have it so well, and we sometimes we complain about not having it so well. Like, we don't have 200 channels, we have 250. We only have 150 channels on our TV or whatever, our YouTube.
Yeah, no, it's been a real eye opener. I'm glad my kids have been able to see that too on our trips down there and visiting that family in particular, and in that town and other towns. There's people, and most of the time they're pretty happy people. I guess that's just their life and they make do. But it shows you can be happy with less material things per se. But unfortunately, obviously this culture is a little different up here. But it's cool to be able to see that and let my kids see that and become friends with those people and their friends and I mean we're talking plywood shacks, man, with dirt floors. Some of these places we visited, and it's pretty cool. It's an eye opener for sure.
Yeah, I spent a little bit of time in Mexico. I lived in Arizona for a year, and so 1 year for spring break we went down to which I guess I would call like the budget version of, say, Cabo or something. It's called Puerto Peñasco, and it's Rocky Point. It's right on the Gulf of California. They're right across from the Baja.
Yep.
And some of the craziest things I've ever seen. I don't remember being super cautious about the water. I know we didn't drink it or anything like that, but I was more concerned about the federales. I'd heard so many horror stories about the federales.
I've got a few.
Taking advantage of people and stuff. But yeah, luckily nothing bad happened, and we had a blast for like 2 days. But yeah, it wasn't, we got to get the experience, but like you were saying, Rick, it was like super packed. I'm pretty sure every ASU student was there that weekend. But yeah, we had an absolute blast. I actually had 3 buddies from Minnesota fly down for the week. And so we all went down there together, and it was a blast. It was a good time.
Yeah, it's good experiences like that. I think everybody needs to do something like that.
Well, they bring reality to the world, I mean, like we're going to be complaining. I think it's Thursday. We're supposed to be 106 here.
Yeah.
And we're going to be complaining in the 90s. And you think about what they live in, and I would be mad if the air conditioning isn't working when I get off of work.
Right.
I mean, not that I can't live in, I mean, we work in those conditions. I mean, in heat I'm talking about. But it's just like, we live in America and we take air conditioning for granted.
Right. Yeah.
And they don't have that, and they live like that, and they have, I mean, we want to take a shower and we have running water, and in some places they don't.
No, for sure.
So, but I think everybody has that federale story.
I've got a couple.
Yeah,
I bet you do.
Yeah.
Although I was guilty both times, so. But
yeah,
I'd be surprised with a few stickers and a few pesos will get you out of.
Well, we'll have to load him up and have "Don't Die Rusty" stickers all over Mexico.
Oh yeah, no, I'll do you proud. I'll do you proud. In fact,
that's funny.
So during contingency, the 2 days before the Baja 1000, all the trucks and buggies and bikes come through and they get interviewed, and it's a big fanfare deal. It's really fun. So you get right up to the trucks, right, and vehicles and whatever, right? And if I have enough stickers, you might see a couple "Don't Die Rusty" stickers on the side of a trophy truck down there.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Right? We'll get pictures and video proof of it and all that.
That'd be awesome, Yeah, that'd be great.
Heck yeah.
Spread
the word, brother.
Yep.
Yes. So, but I just want to say thank you for. I want to thank your wife for reaching out, and then I want to thank you for coming on over here and having the conversation with us.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate the invite, and it's been a blast getting to chat with you guys, especially after listening to all your podcasts and such. and being able to give a little snippet of my race story, or and maybe more importantly, that some of the reason behind it. So.
Yeah, I mean, the story behind most of our adventures is, I mean, we can go on these adventures, but the anticipation of the adventure, and then we can plan the adventures, but when when your fuel line is ripped off because of a stick, and we have to figure out the problem, that's when the adventure starts, and that's when you don't die rusty. That's when you have to figure things out with your mind, and you want to keep moving forward.
Well, the part of those adventures that you don't talk about is when it's going easy. You remember the trials and tough times, right?
Yes.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for your time, and thank you to your wife, Dakota Dirt 73, right? For getting you on. That's an incredible. You do have a great story, and that's an incredible accomplishment. I do believe you have to be in a serious flow state in order to complete something like that, and so it's very inspiring for me too. And I think if it is for me, it's going to be for everybody else too. I love that, you hit 50 and you're like, this is what you weren't quite at that age yet, but you were getting there, right? So you're thinking, I got to do something. I got to do this. I got to prove to myself that I still got it,
Right.
And so that's cool. That's great. That I absolutely love that part of everything. And thanks for everything all along the way. You've been a follower. You're always giving us likes and giving us some engagement. So we appreciate that. And
for sure.
Yeah, man. So appreciate you big time.
Well, no, I appreciate you guys too, for sure, Ricky. And those kind of words, I do appreciate that, man. It was a pleasure to sit and chat with you. And yeah, hopefully we can. You guys will keep cranking them out, man. I'm looking forward to every one. It's the diversity you guys are coming up with for your guests is pretty cool.
Well, good. Yeah. Well, thank you. And I mean, Ricky just said it, and you just said it too. And I just want to, before we end this, I mean, we need to learn, and people need to learn that don't wait till retirement to live your life.
100%.
You know what I mean? We need to live it while we're healthy, or at least mobile, and have our mind. And we get to chase these dreams, and we get to live our best lives right now.
I think it makes you
in the present.
Yeah, a happier, healthier person, which you can, portray that, onto other people as well.
And I was just, I hate to say this, but I was just to a funeral on Monday, and what they said was, put your life in pictures, because she was a photographer too. She was a rodeoer, and she was and anyway, but put your life in pictures, and you think about. That's why I take a lot of pictures of life, but think about like maybe even the 100 pictures that you would want at your funeral. I've been pondering this one. That's why I'm putting this out there. But we need to live life now. We want people to say, I read a deal the other day, is if your life was valued in smiles, how many smiles would you have? And we need more people to put the smiles out to, that kind of stuff. So anyway, I want to say thank you. I'll stop rambling here.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah. So, and as always, don't die rusty, fans. Keep chasing those dreams and live your best life.
Peace out.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too, man. Take care.